This is an HDMI 2.1 sync box from Fancyleds. If you have ever thought about LED lights for your TV, for your gaming, and your movies, well, this might be the best solution for that. Having seen my parents' TV with their LED lights all around their TV, seeing how immersive it is, I always wish I could have that experience on my own TV. But I chose the LG C3, which is one of the best gaming TVs you can get. If you haven't seen that video, it's gonna be in the top right corner of the screen right now, where I reviewed that TV for gaming and overall media consumption. One of the main features that it has is the HDMI 2.1 connection, thanks to which you can actually play games in 4K 120 frames per second. It was one of the main things about the TV that I wanted it for. I wanted to play games from my PS5 in 4K 120 frames per second. So for example, I play a lot of Call of Duty Warzone and Fortnite. So in those games, I can actually go up to 4K 120 frames per second if the TV allows for it. But for that, the TV has to have an HDMI 2.1 port. And because of that, a lot of the sync boxes don't really have that connection. You would have to sacrifice on that connection, so HDMI 2.0 instead of 2.1, so you would not have that 4K 120 frames per second. You would have to sacrifice on settings, so for 4K 60 frames per second or Full HD at 120. But the HDMI 2.1 sync box from Fancyleds actually changes the game here. And this video is actually sponsored by Fancyleds. But I wanted to show you the product because I feel like this is something I was really excited to test out, see how I like it, overall just see how good a LED setup like this can be. And let me tell you, it's amazing. So first thing is, what do you have in the box? Of course, you have the Fancyled sync box, which kind of looks like an Wi-Fi box. It has 3 HDMI 2.1 ports on the back, as well as an HDMI out and a power source, as well as an USB-C connection for the LED lights. In the box, you'll find all the cables, the LED strips, the 4 corners for the back of your TV, also tape strips for the corners for the TV, as well as all the cables that you need to power this. What is really cool in the unboxing experience, they actually provided all the different power outlets depending on your region, and it's really cool. You just have to twist it off and twist on another cap, and now you have a different setup for a different region. That was really cool, that was real premium, and I never saw that solution before, so it was really cool to see. From here, it's a very simple setup. So all we had to do is turn the back of the TV towards us, pick the side we wanted to start from, which in our case was the left side if we look at the TV, or the right side if we look on the back of the TV. It was here because we wanted to be as close as possible to the HDMI ports, which are on this side, and also this is the side where I have my PS5 on at all times. So that way we actually start all around. Thanks to the corners that we have in the box, the LEDs are much easier to just, twist on the corners, so you can actually put it on the plastic additions on the corners. And once you have everything set up, all you have to do is cut off the LED strip where it shows that you can cut it at the location where you started, so when you have the full circle. From here, all you have to do is connect it to the back of the sync box, and also connect your HDMI 2.1 compatible devices like the PS5, Xbox Series X. From here, it's very simple. You download an app for your smartphone, and from the app you can actually control the Fancyled sync box. You can connect the customization in terms of how fast or responsive, how smooth or more sharp the LEDs are, and also there's different presets for ambient light. But overall, through the Wi-Fi, you connect the box and your smartphone, where you can actually on the app do all the setups and all the different settings for the Fancyled box. From here you can enjoy amazing LEDs. But what makes this box so incredible? First off, it actually supports HDMI 2.1 and actually 3 ports of it, meaning you can take full advantage of your next generation of consoles with 4K 120 frames per second, so you don't have to sacrifice on the quality just to have the LEDs on your TV. And actually there's an asterisk here because it actually goes up to 144 Hz, meaning you could actually get to 144 frames per second, but most consoles and TVs usually go for 120 FPS. So because of that, there's actually a little bit of a leeway. So if you connected a different kind of a device that would actually opt for 144 Hz, you can actually take advantage of that too. There's actually 2 different models of the LED strips, one with 72 LEDs per meter, and also another with 96 LEDs per meter. So you can choose which one is better for you and which one is for your budget. Another key feature of this setup is that it actually is not only an RGB setup, it's actually an RGBW, and that W stands for white. So we have an additional white LED light. So you have better white balance and overall color reproduction. It's better in terms of quality and also of the color correction. So the color accuracy is much better. Also, with this box and HDMI 2.1, you don't lose any different settings that you would have from your PS5 natively connected to your TV. So for example, I usually play in HDR, I also play with VRR, meaning variable refresh rates, and all the different settings like the ALLM and something like an auto latency mode. So if you have any of those different settings that normally you would have when connected to a TV, this doesn't mean you have to sacrifice on them, because everything works as it would. You still have the VRR, HDR, auto latency mode. This doesn't downgrade your system when playing. This actually just lets you pass through everything fully while having the LEDs for the ambient lights all around. This also supports the connection in a way where you turn on the PS5 and you have the TV turn on automatically. With this, it still works the same way. That way you don't lose on even the smallest of functions from your normal setup. And it's actually really future-proofed because it's actually capable of 8K at 60 frames per second. And from what I know, even more updates and improvements are on the way. Also, if this isn't your price range, they have different options like the HDMI 2.0 or with less HDMI ports, meaning that you can pick one for your setup. Maybe you don't need 4K 120 frames per second, maybe your TV doesn't support those kind of things, maybe you want something just for movies and slightly cheaper, that way you can find something for you. But this is definitely the one I would go for if you're thinking about the top of the top and in terms of gaming in the highest possible settings from your console. From what I know, this can actually connect with fancy neon and fancy triangles, if you have those, seamlessly through Wi-Fi. So if you have that, you can actually connect it and have everything connected and just sync everything with the box. Overall, I really love that I can play in the best possible settings without sacrificing on quality, both in resolution, frame rates, latency. Nothing really is sacrificed, and you still have that ambient light all around. Overall, this setup is amazing. I love the way it makes everything just more immersive. Videos, movies, everything you put on your TV just feel a little bit more immersive. The room is like a cinema at this point, because normally you have the screen, which already is amazing. For my case, LG C3 is already a great TV with its OLED panel and everything. But when we add in the ambient lights, it just makes the room filled out with color. So it kind of makes it more immersive. Even though you're focused on the screen, it just makes it that there's no cutoff of the screen essentially, which is really cool. And once we turned it off, we kind of felt like there was something missing. The same thing can be said for games, where maybe for the games it's more for the ambient, having the setup and everything. It just makes it a little bit more immersive. It's not gonna add into, your precision, but it's gonna add into your immersiveness of the environment. So if you're playing like a story game or a shooter game, everything just feels a little bit more immersive. And the color reproduction is amazing, and it just feels so seamless that it just makes sense to have something like this if you want to have that ambient lights all around. I was definitely so interested in this ever since I saw that on my parents' TV. I really wish I had something like this, but I didn't want to sacrifice on settings that I have on my LG C3 and my PS5 or Xbox Series X. But with this, I can actually play all my games in best settings, don't have to sacrifice on anything, and I can just play the way I wanted to, but also have that cool, lighting all around and just having everything be so immersive. And in the evening when all the lights are off and you turn it on, it is just amazing. It's perfect. It looks so good. And while this video is sponsored, I can highly recommend this product. I can personally recommend this product for those that want to take advantage of your next generation of consoles, your PS5, Xbox Series X, or other devices that you might have, and want to have that LED experience, but don't want to sacrifice on the quality. So if you want to take advantage of that, check out this fancy LED box, because this one is incredible. So I can highly recommend this one if you're interested in something like this. If you're interested in this one or any other from their website, I'm gonna link it down below, this product and their website in the description below. With that being said, that is gonna be the end of today's video. I hope you guys learned something new today. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.